For generations, NATO fought Middle East wars, developing kits and tactics that fit the job. Until the dawn of February 24th, 2022 opened a new chapter. 4 years into this reality, the lesson is obvious. When two heavily armed forces trade air and armor without a side owning the sky, you don't get operators fast roping onto sleeping enemies in low-profile vests and two-piece gun belts. NVGs don't let you shoot blind targets anymore. That war is gone. But picture a country with more jets than the entire Middle East and a nuclear stockpile growing faster than anyone in the world. If our first strike can't crush that fleet on the ground, or underground like Iran's were, your kit has to match the war you're walking into. What's on you when the order comes for a new Iwo Jima?
Тогда я позволю себе 30 секунд или 1 минуту маленькую историческую справку. Вы не против?
Stay to the end and you'll see how Russian fire with a Korean cameo forged our battle belt call. You'll get a dozen brand names that outclass the old standbys, you'll learn a 7-step test for separating good belts from bad, and you'll see the one we make for ourselves. Ukraine and Russia have been forced to evolve kit faster than the West. Not in materials, not in production scale, but the concepts moved east. Take Russia's newest KBS Strelok kit, standard issue for regular infantry, airborne, and Marines. Its features are straight Western pulls, cloned in fabric and function, from multicam and STKSS load transfer by Crye to point-blank type segmented groin protection.
Yeah, Strelok's already replaced.
Western kit is trending light and low profile. A big war forces the reverse. More shrapnel coverage and even the first armored harnesses, because evac is measured in days, sometimes weeks. A full-size battle belt that works with STKSS pulls the load off your back, so armor stays on for tens of hours. The green zone doesn't exist anymore. Ukrainian brands don't even need to steal materials. They're using original multicam, Velcro, and Cobra buckles, the same supply chain Crye and Ferro use. So while the Western load-bearing systems and other ideas was shelved back home and trimmed for low profile, fragment-heavy combat pushed its clone parallel evolution on both sides of the front. Let's begin with the Ukrainian branch of this parallel evolution, through your first-line gear, battle belts. We start at the floor. The baseline is just a straight MOLLE sleeve over an inner belt. Cheap. That's the only win. For a rifleman, it gives you nothing a two-piece gun belt can, but for a machine gunner, even this moves ammo cans to your hips instead of your back. No more picking between staying alive today and surgery for your back next year. But that cheap straight sleeve doesn't hold the hip line. So the first thing your belt must do is fit anatomically. It should arc like a bow. Worn right, those curves rest on your hip bones, letting you carry weight without suspenders and taking pressure off of them under heavy kits. Anatomical cut is common now, since it doesn't raise the cost much. What cheap belts still skip is the second thing your belt must do, a modular inner. Manufacturers save money by covering everything in 3D mesh. You still cook in heat, and over a 5th or 7th layer, it just adds thickness with zero blunt trauma relief. With Velcro inside, you can run cooling pads in summer, core performance, or high-end option like maps, stick on mesh if that's all you've got, or go bare over winter layers for a lower profile. Third thing a real battle belt must do is take shrapnel off your waist. Skip it, and a fragment can punch in by the kidneys, a wound you can't put a cat on. The gut sits behind that line, and natural cavities can't be packed. Add a pelvis or spine hit and you lose mobility. In big caliber war, side waist armor is mandatory, but an armor pocket is simple to build, so most belts include it. The real trap is the soft armor. It costs more than the belt, so corner cutting is almost guaranteed. One small manufacturer mistake, wrong polyethylene type, sloppy cut, bad sealing, or games in testing, and your quote-unquote waist armor is just fabric with hope. Most so-called polyethylene on the market was never intended for soft armor. It's designed for hard plates or industrial products like rope and cut-proof gloves. Only a few grades belong in a soft armor insert, and even honest proper PE can fail over time if the pack is built wrong. Sheets grind, thin, and lose stop power. This rabbit hole keeps going. Strap in. Soft armor is judged on clay. Set the panel on a clay block, shoot, and then measure the dent behind it. For NIJ-3A, the back face deformation limit is 44 millimeters. That clay is you, literally. So 44 millimeters is the legal blunt hit that you're signing up for, into your flesh. Now compare limits. Ukraine says 25 millimeters. Unless a company tags the armor as concealed, then it's 35 millimeters. Most brands label battle belts as concealed for the softer bar. Russia says around 18 to 20 millimeters, but it's not clean there. This is just a quick contrast. So there are only two moves. Either you dig into every detail and confirm your maker isn't gaming you, and that's before we even talk layer count plus the calibers they tested, or you go straight to US-made Dyneema, tested in Ukraine with 25 millimeter cap, no loopholes. That's how we run our own gear, period. You might think that waist armor is the belt's biggest upgrade. It isn't. Fourth, the main thing a battle belt must do is take weight off your shoulders. That load transfer is life or death in a fragment war, and almost nobody outside this front is treating it that way. Your line infantry, sunrise attack. You hop into their trench. No stealth matters once the first shots trip the alarm. Grenades keep coming, one after another. FPVs lift to back them. Shrapnel chews the air, and rifles still work you over. Different angle. Your SOF, rain, thermal cloak. You slip into their rear. You're set for a hit from behind. Their belt fed is there, but it won't swing onto you fast under fire, so it's rifle fire first. Thermals make that a losing trade for them.
Then, one radio call.
Mortars open up. What do you do? Call air support? Sure, their air defense lets anything show up? That's how Russia's Tier 1 Sednyesh team got taken. The fix is simple and brutal. Plate carrier and side soft armor and class 4 plates and full fragment coverage on every vital spot. Your groin has to be covered front to back, abdomen and waist locked in, and only a full-size battle belt protects the low flanks below the cummerbund. But that weight will eat your back over days. STKSS load transfer is how you stay in the fight. A harness carrier ties into two uprights that press on the cummerbund, taking the load off your shoulders. With STKSS, you stay fresh under heavy load for hours longer. Your battle belt has to be STKSS ready. Now you get why I started with the Russian KBS Strelok set. They put a stolen old-gen STKSS plus an armored harness as the core, and just built shrapnel protection around it. We aim to do the same for NATO soldiers and Western volunteers in Ukraine, turning Crye's LPB into a belt that wins on every metric. Fifth thing your battle belt must give you is payload. Count the MOLLE. More rows mean more gear, more water, more meds. One additional row can be an extra grenade. And when they still have frags and you don't, that row is your life. Here's the nuance. More MOLLE is good, but side MOLLE is gold. Load on one hip is balanced by load on the other, but load on the small of your back just hangs off the buckle and wrecks you in a vehicle. Most belts share the same rear strip, 6 cells. So the real math is here. Crye's LPB is 6 per side. Warrior Assault Frag Belt, 7. Ours, 8. Sixth, little design choices that matter. Many belts give you side windows to the inner belt, perfect for a holster or dump pouch mounted to an inner belt without sacrificing MOLLE. We also added compact lanyard loops for a personal retention lanyard. If you've ever ridden to positions in a packed pickup bed, you know how easy it is to get bounced out on the move. Same logic on water. A Ukrainian intel reporter drifted 14 hours in open sea after going overboard before he was recovered. Seventh thing to check is the buckle. There are 3 kinds. Good plastic, the 2M Woojin, original metal Alstri Alpin Cobra, and cheap clones of both. Copies are a dead end, so ignore them. So the real question is price. Why pay almost double for a belt if the only difference is the buckle, and a 2M already sounds solid? An original Alstri Alpin Cobra is at least 10 times stronger than any plastic buckle, and any plastic gets even more brittle in winter. A hard pull rides it near its limit. You jump out, snag gear on a pickup, and the driver launches, plastic might not hold. You step out to pee, a drone knocks you out outside the trench, and your team drags you by the belt, plastic might not hold. You clip a safety lanyard and slip off a moving ride, that plastic is over. One last contrast. A plastic buckle can half unclip under load. Knock one tooth and it slips out while the belt still looks locked. That's the danger. You're hanging on a buckle that was never tested like this. With one tooth gone, strength drops sharply. and one hard yank can rip the last tooth off. I've seen that one tooth break on trophy belts many times. Cobra won't half release. It only opens unloaded. With the 7 checkpoints in place, it's time to stack up the belts you can get your hands on. We'll factor in price as well, because sooner or later, it's part of the decision. I built this lineup across every tier, from dirt cheap workhorses to rare high-end outliers to prove Ukraine's gear market is real. But the pick is yours. Time to name names. Let's start where the low-profile world tops out. Agilite Magnetix. It's the best 2-piece gun belt you can buy, and it carries the whole category's strengths and blind spots. So light you forget it's there. The magnetic alignment system keeps placement consistent, laminate keeps it stiff, and a real Austri Alpen Cobra with a D-ring comes standard at a $175 price tag. And if you're fighting in Ukraine, its price lands at around $240 to $260. But what does that comfort really cost you? Anatomical curves are redundant here. The belt locks in anyway. Build is great in the heat, but now picture winter on a live front line. You're pinned to a position for days in a cold, wet, half-collapsed basement, hardly moving, and that 7th layer stops acting like insulation and becomes the only thing you wear under armor. That's where trouble starts. Armor? None. Same as every other 2-piece gun belt. Even if you're running a heavy vest with abdomen, groin, and butt protection, your waist under the cummerbund stays bare on both sides. Speaking of heavy vest, no STKSS interface to put that load off your back, and no practical way to pull most of the ammo down onto the belt, which hits machine gunners the hardest. Fatigue wins that fight, and the vest comes off. That is why MOLLE count barely matters here. A 1-row belt just can't hold bulky pouches. Even if you squeeze on 2 or 3 double mag pouches, that's only 4 to 6 mags on the belt, and another 6 to 8 left hanging on the vest. That's the minimum for a line infantry. For context, Wagner's elite assault teams in Bakhmut, the old assault cadre, not the prison mobs, pushed loadouts up to 20 mags per man. A classified Ukrainian SOF ambush report from Kursk region, later leaked by the Russians, spells it out. Group 1 carries 18 5.56 mags each. Group 2 runs 16. The bottom line? A skinny 2-piece gun belt keeps the weight and most of the ammo stuck on the vest, and leaves your kidneys wide open. But full size doesn't automatically mean good. This is the Ukrainian Army standard issue battle belt. No anatomical curve, just a straight band of fabric. The inside isn't even backed with cheap mesh. From how soft it feels, you already know there's no armor in there. No weight transfer, no real features, and the cheapest buckle of the lot. It's free, but only if you're ready to die for Ukraine, so I'm not sure if that's a benefit or a bad joke. Next comes the entry from Ukraine's largest gear producer, M-Tac. Officially called the War Belt Armor Tigris D-Ring Cobra Multicam. Yes, that entire string is on the tag. I'm placing it here because it's also a standard issue in Ukraine, specifically built for the 3rd Assault Brigade. On the essentials, it delivers a proper anatomical cut, a slot for a soft armor insert, and a proper Cobra buckle. But the inside is finished with plain mesh. MOLLE space is capped at 6 columns per side, and there's no native STKSS interface. M-Tac sells dedicated STKSS support panels, but they make the belt bulkier and add about $24 to the $133 base price. As for unique features, you get a Tigris composite strip sewn in to keep the belt from sagging, and an open inner belt channel for mounting a holster or a dump pouch directly. Next is the Frag belt by Warrior Assault Systems, the one I watched doing real work in trenches in 2022. At about $110, it gives you an anatomical cut, an adaptive interface, a pocket for soft armor, and 7 MOLLE columns per side instead of the usual 6. What you don't get is STKSS, a Cobra buckle, or open inner belt access. A very honest baseline, but still a baseline. Speaking of baselines, Q1 by Avis Gear is the simplest stop for a battle belt. No anatomical shaping, no armor pocket, no special features, no alternative buckles. Everything here is tuned around one thing, a $28 price tag. The upside is that Avis doesn't cut corners on materials. You still get an original 2M buckle and genuine multicam. Functionally, it's close to a trimmed-down slim grip belt by HSGI, just without the rubberized inner padding. Now it's Crye LPB against Crye LPB, just with Ukrainian labels from GradGear and ProtecUA. Protec gives you camo inner Velcro, a Woojin buckle, and an $85 tag. GradGear answers with plain inner Velcro, a 2M buckle, and $83. At their core, both are straight LPB clones. 6 MOLLE columns per side, nothing fancy. But out of the box, they're STKSS compatible, which makes them almost the only option if you actually plan to wrap your plate carrier in armor without getting buried under the weight. In everything else, they bring solid quality and original spec materials, just not at the $200+ price point. And sure, original Crye still holds the edge in padding. Its foam pads beat a basic 3D mesh, so it's on you to decide whether that comfort gap is worth paying for. Moving into more distinctive shapes, we get the TBW G1 by Velmet. Velmet is a premium Ukrainian manufacturer that was equipping Ukrainian SOF even before the full-scale war, and this camouflage is their in-house design. The belt has a true anatomical curve and sets a record for MOLLE space, 8 columns per side with the usual 6 at the back. It's priced at $284 because it bundles mandatory soft armor, quick waist adjustment on the body, and a fully laser-cut design. Functionally, it's clearly built for heavy loads, but that's exactly where laser cut starts to tire faster than classic webbing, so for sustained hard use we still default to more traditional MOLLE, and it still isn't STKSS compatible. From the smaller names, Sentinel by Suputnyk Gear. It checks many of the right boxes: a shaped belt body, a Tegris polymer insert, a Cobra buckle, and an armor pocket, plus 7 MOLLE columns per side. The caveats start when you look closer. The inner surface is a basic, though molded, mesh. The anatomical bend is quite shallow, and laser cut sections sit in zones that see constant stress. It's up to you whether that feels acceptable at this price point. Suputnyk lists it at $138, with sale prices around $117, but there's still no inner belt access and no STKSS support. Now, before we dive into what I think is the ideal belt, we need to touch the most unconventional Ukrainian solution on the table, the Chersel by Balistika. It's a big purpose-built belt, 7 MOLLE columns per side across 3 full rows. A bit much for a line rifleman, but exactly what a gunner might want. The back is simple mesh, the buckle is Ukrainian plastic, and there's no access to the inner belt, so $118 doesn't look cheap in isolation. The reason it matters is that it's the only Ukrainian belt designed to work with a weight transfer system, aside from straight Crye LPB clones. Balistika pairs it with an Israeli Marum Dolphin module built around a single upright at roughly $116, which takes over your rear MOLLE. To keep a rear pull-out IFAK, you keep a dedicated cover at about $36 more. Marum Dolphin's strength is reach. It lets you tie almost any harnessless carrier into almost any belt by sliding that post into the back plate bag. But mechanically, it's still one pillar fighting gravity alone. 2 sticks tied into a harnessed STKSS frame are a different universe. A fully loaded carrier can literally stand upright on a table with no one inside, and harnessed rigs like AVS already bleed less fatigue under heavy load. That's why, whenever you have a choice, I treat Marum Dolphin as a temporary universal crutch, and a full STKSS build as the standard you should be aiming at. I stick with STKSS for 2 reasons: physics and the belt we built around it, the Lima belt. Lima is a project that I did together with ENSIS Gear. ENSIS was a small shop that my friend Korn ran with an anonymous SOF operators. Korn sewed gear there at night and took it to war by day, until one September morning Russian bombs made sure that he never saw Lima finished. Lima is everything I actually want on a belt for this war. Full US-made multicam, original Velcro, and Cobra. A true anatomical cut. An interface that can run real ventilated pads, or sit straight on top of winter kit while you live in a damp basement for weeks. For light loads, you hang minimalist suspenders and forget about them. Once you start stacking groin flaps, abdominals, side plates, and extra pouches, you stand the vest up on STKSS uprights and let your hips take the hit instead of your spine. If there's a real chance of falling out of a helicopter, boat, or pickup, you spec a Cobra with a D-ring and clip your lanyard into the dedicated loop instead of wasting a MOLLE column. On a size M, Lima carries 8 MOLLE sockets per side and the usual 6 at the back, with an STKSS channel running the full length of both flanks. Inside sits only US-made Dyneema soft armor. In Ukraine, we hold it to a 25mm backface standard, even though the law would let us stop at 35, and NIJ 3A allows 44. I still like having those extra 10mm between fragments and my kidneys. The whole point of Lima was to pack that capability into a base belt that starts at $82. So yes, it's a low-profile belt on steroids at roughly 40% of the original's price, and still cheaper than the LPB clones made here in Ukraine. If staying low-profile on a new Iwo Jima sounds like a bad plan now, you'll find Lima in the link below. Whichever way you go, I'll ask just one thing. If war is your profession, prepare for the war that's coming, not the one you already fought.